How's it going today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day so far. So what we're going to be talking about today in this video is basically one of these pivotal lessons that I learned when I was about maybe 20 to 21 years old on how basically, going out there and following the traditional path and getting a 9-to-5 job, well, basically it's a complete scam. And that's what I want to show you guys in this video is exactly why going out and getting a 9-to-5 or going and getting into massive amounts of debt, getting a college degree, in most cases ends up being a complete scam for people. And I'm basically going to show you guys what this looks like by drawing it out in terms of your net worth based on your age. And for those of you who are not familiar with net worth, I'm not surprised because this is not something you typically learn in school. Your net worth is basically how much value you have in terms of your assets. So if you take your assets and you subtract out your liabilities or your debts, that's going to give you an idea of your net worth. And we're going to look at the net worth over time of following basically three different options. Option number one, I call the poorly paid indentured servant, which is basically going out there, leaving high school and getting any job you can. Maybe you're doing fast food, maybe you're a mail carrier, I don't know what it is, but it's a job with no prior education and following that path. Option number two is going to school, getting a college education, and then entering the workforce as a slightly higher paid servant who is in a massive amount of debt. And then option number three is one that a lot of people just do not have exposure to based on the environment, based on the fact that you don't learn about these different ways of making money in school. But this is option number three, which is the path that I followed that I really wasn't exposed to until I was about, like I said, 20 to 21 years old. All right, so first of all, we're gonna start off with option number one, which is the poorly paid indentured servant, which is basically leaving high school and getting a job. Well, what is that going to look like here on this chart? Basically, it's going to be a very gradually increasing line. Now, the advantage to this here is that you're not in debt, hopefully, unless you have, credit card debt. You at least don't have student loans that you're, trying to get paid off. And so hopefully you're going to have a growing net worth from day one. Now, the disadvantage to this is that these are often the most undesirable jobs, maybe doing fast food or retail. You're not gonna be paid a lot of money, and you're also what we call a commodity. You're easy to replace, and your employer knows this, and as a result, oftentimes you are not treated as well as you maybe should be, and it's just not a great work environment. So most people don't wanna end up in this option, and so what they do, and what the education system pushes people to do, is follow option number two, which is to go out there, get some form of college education to hopefully get a slightly better 9-to-5. So let's draw that one out now and see exactly what that would look like. So option number two of being a slightly higher paid servant that's in a massive amount of debt, it's actually going to look like something like this. So you're going to actually start off with a negative net worth here as you go into debt in order to actually get hopefully a slightly better 9-to-5, once you graduate. So you're starting out your early 20s here, or your late teenage years, with tens of thousands of dollars of debt in most cases when you're getting that 2-year, 4-year, 6-year degree, or maybe you're going off and going to be a lawyer or a doctor, with 8+ years of school. Nonetheless, once you finish school, you have put yourself, in most cases, into a serious amount of debt, but then you get a slightly better job, so that line increases maybe at a slightly faster rate, and then you maybe end up somewhere over here. Now, what's interesting to me is that most people will talk about going out and getting a college education. They talk about how good of a decision it is and how basically you're an idiot if you just go out there and get a job. But if you actually look at this here in terms of the net worth here, assuming that you don't have crazy expenses and you are able to grow your net worth, you actually didn't really make a good decision until you have all of your debts paid off, and that's at this line right here when your net worth finally starts to grow a little bit faster than somebody who just went out there and got a job. Because despite the fact that you might be making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 versus somebody who's making 30 or 40, maybe a little bit less, you still need to pay off all of those debts before you start making more and having your net worth grow. Because basically paying off all of those debts is going to be a massive burden on you until you get that paid down. So that is option number two. Now, a lot of people, don't like this option for a number of reasons. First of all, the biggest one in my opinion is that you have to start off $20,000, $30,000 in debt just to dig yourself out of debt, just to eventually have a higher net worth than somebody who just went out there and got the first job that they could get their hands on. The other option why people don't like this is because, again, the jobs you are getting here are often not the best jobs. It all depends on what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about accounting or administrative work or HR or anything like that, maybe this is the path for you, but it's certainly not the path for everybody. And the disappointing thing to me is that going through the traditional education system, these were the only two paths that I saw. Now, personally, this is what I did. I was fortunate enough to have some money from my grandfather to go to a community college, so I did not spend a lot of money. I spent about $10,000 on my entire college education. He reimbursed me for that, and so as a result, I was able to start off, at least with a flat net worth or slightly positive because I had some savings. So essentially, I was a slightly higher paid servant who didn't have any debt, so just a little bit better than people here in option number 2. But I learned very quickly that this was actually not a path I wanted to go down, and it seemed like kind of a scam because I wasn't able to have any time freedom. I didn't get pretty much any vacation, and even though I was making a little bit more money than the average person, I found that because I was paying higher taxes, it was almost kind of balancing itself out. So that is when I learned about option number 3. Now, option number 3, it's not a set path for everybody. For a lot of people, it's what you call entrepreneurship, but I actually don't even really like that label because of how much this has changed in the recent years because of the internet. But the way I define this, it's taking risks of some kind, learning from your mistakes, and eventually creating something on your own. Now, whether that's a physical business or if it's some kind of internet-based business, that's all based on what you decide. But personally, I would always recommend some kind of internet-based business because of the nature of these businesses being, low expenses. And something else I like to think about too is think about 15 or 20 years ago, if you wanted to go out there and start a business, it would look something like option number 2 here because you would have to go out and put together a business plan. You'd have to go to the bank and you'd have to get a loan. And then you'd have to lose money for the first 2 years and then eventually hopefully start to make money and end up somewhere over here. And that's just not what entrepreneurship looks like anymore today because of these internet-based businesses that you can create. So option number 3, let's go ahead and draw that out and see what that might look like. And this right here is why most people don't follow option number 3. They either don't know it exists at all because they're only shown, option 1 and option 2 in school, or the other reason is because you don't really make any money the first couple of years in most cases. So it starts out flat like this, and then it usually picks up and goes up like that if you're successful. Now, are you gonna be successful with your first venture? Probably not. I've had a lot of failures in the past, dabbling around in entrepreneurship or just creating something myself. But this is why people often don't follow this path, is because it'll take you anywhere from, 1 to 5, maybe even longer years to actually see some results. Now, with these internet-based businesses, it can be a lot quicker. My first ventures with making money online, I started making money in a relatively short amount of time, but this is the only option that I see where you can have this kind of exponential growth of your net worth, because following option number 1, you're gonna top out at a certain pay rate after a period of time. Maybe you're gonna get incremental raises, but odds are, once you account for inflation, you're basically being paid the same amount of money and you have this linear growth of your net worth. Option number 2, in terms of your net worth, you're still just seeing that linear growth because even though you are slightly higher paid, you are still probably gonna top out at a certain pay rate. For me, with the job that I had, it was a pay rate of about $100,000 per year, which may sound like a lot to you guys, but it's actually not a lot of money once you factor in your taxes and any other expenses. So for me, option number 3 was the only option that made sense to me. It's to create something yourself, and it's the only way I've ever discovered out there that could have that kind of exponential growth curve when it comes to your net worth. And so what this was for me, this was going out there and creating a YouTube channel and creating these different online assets and ultimately leveraging, affiliate marketing. Now, if you guys want to learn more about my business, I do have a completely free ebook I've put together. It's basically a blueprint I put together on how to build an audience or build a following online, which is essentially what I've done to have this kind of exponential growth with my business. So I'll go ahead and include that as the top link in the description below if you guys are interested. And it kind of goes into more detail here of, what has this been for me that has grown my net worth substantially, that wasn't, following these other two options that were laid out in front of me. But anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about these three different options and whether or not you've ever really heard of, anything like option number 3 here, which involves, taking some risk, but eventually, hopefully having some kind of, exponential growth with your income or your net worth. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.